there.
So in general, I'd probably say Hanzo's going to have more consistent damage than Torb. They're very close, but I'd probably say Hanzo's just going to have more consistent damage on average than Torbjorn.
Okay.
So yeah, I did start the recording, so I'll just, same as usual, it'll be a minute or so while I'm looking for something to talk about.
Yeah.
My servants never die.
Alright, so watch that timing with the Valk, because we did use it like when they weren't already in the process of pushing forwards, which meant that it was very easy for them to just not push, and then that meant that a large part of our Valk got wasted and it didn't do a ton. So in general, you want to be using your ultimate when the fight has begun or is like very close to starting, and we used it before the fight began.
Yeah, I saw the Sigma move up, and I was assuming multiple people were following up, and both my tanks were 60-ish% health, 60, 70. So I thought it would be a good counteract, but yeah, it was too early.
So yeah, too early. Like Sigma, I wouldn't say it was like close enough in. Typically, like it's more so like when both the teams are like on top of each other, not just Sigma is getting a little bit close, right? So keep your eye on that and how close are the teams in general to each other, and can they just pull back super easily?
I still have use for you.
It's too far forward. Hanzo needs to be bailed out. He's got a bubble. Nice.
Did someone call for you? I could use some assistance.
Oh, nice.
Alright, so make sure that when we hear that tire that we're making efforts to get away from our team, because when we spread ourselves out, then that means that he can only ever get, 1, 2 people versus getting a whole 3k, right? So if we spread
Yeah.
out away from our team, that limits how many kills he gets. So just keep an eye out for that. Good res.
I'm here. Casting a spell on you. Helden sterben nicht. My servants never die. I empowered you. Let's get you back out there. Dein Schutzengel ist da.
These high energies.
My healing spell is upon you.
They're not going to shoot me from all the way back there.
Heilstrahl aktiviert. Enemy turret ahead. Watch yourself. Where does it hurt?
Alright, so in general, make sure we're keeping our eye on danger levels of teammates, because I'm noticing that sometimes we're not on the right targets at the right time to where like people are in danger and we're just healing the person who's like a little bit in less danger,
Okay.
Never die.
which we can maybe go more in depth on if we need to.
I don't know if I want to res here because it's just going to feed more ult. Can I get out?
Enemy turret ahead. Watch it. There's no escape. Enemy turret neutralized. Reality bends to my will. I've got you.
All right, so their tires won them like 3 fights in a row. What is maybe something that we as Mercy can do that can stop tire? Or
We could fire a
maybe
couple of pellets at it, but
say it again.
we could fire a couple of pellets
Let
at it.
me re-ask that question because I maybe added something, an extra word in there. What is something you can do? I'll ask afterwards. My bad.
With me, it's trying to split up the most from the enemy team as I can.
Yep, that's a part of it.
But like fire a couple of pellets, I guess I can, but I mean, it's now literally just waiting for someone else to show up. I mean, this is a better trade, 100%.
Yep. So let me rephrase that question, right?
Yeah.
What is something that you can do to prevent Tyre from getting value and to stop Tyre from winning the fight? Doesn't necessarily have to be specifically as Mercy.
Destroy it in general.
Destroy it. Okay. Are you and Mercy? Are you going to be able to destroy it very easily?
No, most of them.
No. Okay. So, well then what therefore can you do as Mercy, right? If you as Mercy cannot destroy it, what's something else that you can do to stop it from getting value?
Stop it completely.
Stop it completely.
Calling out where it is, I suppose, to some degree.
Exactly. So now what do you have to do to be able to call out where it is? What's that first step to be able to call it out and get your team to destroy it?
That's to be in voice chat.
To be in voice chat. Okay, well that's one step, right?
Yeah.
Maybe it's step 1. What's the next step after that?
Knowing the key locations and calling out accurate locations.
Paying attention to where Junkrat is and paying attention to the fact that he has his ultimate and knowing where his ult is coming from, right? So all 3 of the times that Junkrat ulted and Junkrat was tired and won the fight, we had no clue where the heck he was until we were all dead, right?
Yeah.
So if we are paying attention to, oh, I don't see a Junkrat on my screen, he's probably flanking. Oh, it's been 2 fights, Junkrat probably has his ultimate. And then calling that out, hey, Junkrat's up top behind us and he has his ult, then that means that your team is able to actually stop him from ulting and killing everybody, right? And then that is something that you can do that saves 3 individual fights.
Yeah, that's more paying attention to what are the enemy players, where are they, and what can they do.
Yeah, exactly.
Someone call for this? Right down.
Want to walk in front there?
I'm with you. Enchanting your damage.
Right. Oh, there it was.
Where does it help? This is not the end. I'm back. I'm here. I have power. Casting a spell on you. Fire at will. Did someone call for this?
There it is. In the back left or is it on top? Oh, it's in the door.
My servants never die. Damage increase.
Alright. Good Val?
My ultimate is almost ready.
I do notice now that I paid more attention to it, I do default back to AFK holding left click when I'm trying to figure out something else, like where the turret was and stuff.
Yeah.
A captured. Escort the payload.
Damage amplified. Let's get you that out there. I will not waste this opportunity. I'm being attacked. I've got you. I'm taking care. Rocket barrage incoming. I'm with you. Don't stop now. My damage spell is upon you.
Okay. Make sure that we're not staring at our pocket targets as often. In a lot of cases, whenever we're healing or damaging somebody, we'll end up just staring at them for a very long time. Like, we'll stare at them for like 5 seconds straight. And then that's like every single time we're ever on somebody. So make sure we're looking around so that we can actually see what's going on around us. Does anybody need a res? Does anybody else need healing?
Or like, yeah, that's something I didn't really notice myself, but now that you say it, yeah.
Alright, because you can still tell what's happening with your pocket target based off of off of the middle of your screen where it shows their health bar and their what's happening there, right?
Yeah.
Casting a spell on you.
Hawk is on the right side in the building area somewhere. Oh, he's on top on the roof.
Get you that out there.
I knocked him off.
Nanoboost administered.
Taking your damage. Help me. My healing spell is upon you.
Oh, yeah, you're good.
Ich bin da.
Oh.
My servants never die.
Rocket barrage incoming.
Right. Make sure we're paying attention to reses, because during that fight we passed up 2 different res opportunities, one on Reinhardt and then 2 on the Ana. Alright. Keeping in mind that, like, when you have Valk, you're much more able to go for riskier reses, and Ana wasn't even a risky res. So we might go more in depth on reses after we're done here, because I don't know if we have gone in depth on reses in the past.
One. Yeah, no, I did not. I was tunnel visioned on the fire for that bit because I was looking at the kill death feed and we were behind, but I did notice that the fire just blasted ult in there, so I was hoping that would work out better than it did. Although it didn't go poorly.
Yep, it's just in that situation, right? Resing wouldn't even really take that long out of the fight, and then also just put you up a flare.
Right beside you. My damage spell is upon you. We make a great team.
Tactical visor
Let's
out.
get you that out there. My ultimate is ready.
He might have ult by this point.
Ich bin da. My servants never die. Casting a spell on you. Right on.
Okay. When you're Valking, get height, go higher and higher and higher, because this gives you more visibility over the fight, allows you to fly to people easier, as you can, again, like, just see more and get to more people. It also gives you more survivability, as the higher you are, the more fall off damage that you do, the further away you are, and the harder you are overall to kill.
I'm taking care of him. Your support has arrived. Let's get you back out there. Don't stop now.
60
Damage
seconds
in enemy
remaining.
stop.
Enemy turret destroyed.
I will not waste. Where does it hurt?
Okay. Probably could have rezzed when the tire was down there, right? Versus
Yeah.
after he already exploded the tire, right? And you know that he's about to be turning that corner.
All the information was there. I all registered it, but it didn't line up in the way that it should have.
Yep, which happens.
Damage amplified. I am empowered. I'm with you.
Nah, that's not gonna be there in time.
10 seconds.
Pick up the pace. We can do this. My servants never die. Enemy contact.
If you
Oh, come
see
on.
them on, yeah, exactly. Go pistol then.
A great team.
Right when you see that someone's just 1 HP and you want to go finish him off real quick.
Visor activated.
Oh, nice.
Rocket barrage incoming.
I am amazing. I'm amazed. I got nanoed for this. Huge nano.
All right. So I think we went over Mercy last time, right? So we went over Mercy a little bit last time. Last time we talked about default targets, right?
Yes.
So I just say make sure you keep working on that. I'm not sure. I think it's probably better than it was last time, but at the same time, I do notice some moments where like we are kind of on the opposite side of the map from like our Pharah when we're when we don't necessarily need to be, right? Like they have health packs, they have Ana who can heal them, right? And we probably want to be sticking around our Pharah unless we're critically needed for somebody being super in danger and low, or we need a res, right? Those should be the only times that we're really leaving our Pharah is when we're really needed, not when we're just kind of really slightly needed, right? Because Pharah is just that much of a good target to stay with. Right? In this scenario, that'd probably be Bastion, right? Since he'd be just a really good target to stick around with. So we leave Bastion for when other people really need us.
Yeah. But yeah, you are right. That is something that I've been focusing more on, sticking to a default target instead of pasting myself onto a tank eventually because I just get distracted.
Though at the same time, it's kind of almost on the contrary, make sure that we are just looking around more often for opportunity, like situations where people do need us, because there were times, like for example, like that I could see where people were critical HP and we just didn't notice them, right? Or there were reses we could have gone for that we didn't. So making sure we're keeping our eyes open for that, which we'll go more in depth on reses afterwards. Alright, so I was talking. Did we all get boot buffed by mine or something? Is that what happened?
No, I think I was just. I don't think so. I think I was just trying to bounce around, trying to be staying a moving target.
Alright, I didn't notice what happened there. If we, like, what happened, like, to get us off the high ground. I'm gonna talk for a minute though, so don't quite hop into a game quite yet. So yeah, I am streaming.
Yes, I'm watching.
Alright.
Replays. Do you want me to make it public?
What, the last one? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
I mean that we don't have to. If you wanted to specifically see that one timing where we could have gone for the reses, then
I was just thinking. I don't know if you wanted to do that or you wanted to look at training grounds.
no. I mean we can. I was going to the training range is what we're gonna do here. So just to talk about a couple things. So, mercy. Couple things. Firstly, are you familiar with how to do super jumps?
In theory, yes. In practice, no.
No? Okay, so in theory, yes. Does that mean that you know like all the buttons you should be pressing? You just haven't gotten used to it yet, or?
So no, the idea I know behind it, where you use a sloped edge, where you dash towards someone. When you hit the sloped edge, you press spacebar, which unlatches you and makes you jump a lot further. But if you do it against the ramp, it makes you fly up miles.
Not necess. I don't know what the ramp and sloped edge you're bringing into it is, but you can there's just buttons you can click that make it so that you can super jump. So I can just go like this and super jump straight up in the air by pressing buttons. So I can walk. Say that again.
I'm getting in a training ground.
Yeah. So I'll walk you through those buttons. It's possible. I think you were maybe thinking that you have to like fly into something to do it. Is that what you're under the impression of? No, you can just press the buttons and then it works. So I'll walk you through the buttons you have to press. So how it works is when you, this is just what it looks like when you normally fly to somebody, but
Yeah.
what you're going to do is you're going to fly to somebody while crouching, so that you're going to, if you have your crouch on control and your fly on shift, you're just going to take your pinky and put it across both of those at the exact same time, and it's going to look like this, where notice that now you actually fly low to the ground, and then at the very end you do this little pop-up, right, where you pop up at the end.
Yeah.
When you do that pop-up at the end, that's where you press spacebar, and if you do that at the kind of the peak of it, that's where you launch up into the air.
Okay, so I'll give this a couple of tries while
Mhm.
you continue.
Yep, so that's pretty much how it is, and this is going to be very, very handy because it can give you high grounds super easily, and it also means that you are able to dodge people out, and you know,
Okay.
if you're in the middle of a fight, which like in that last fight, that's why I kind of asked about it, was that you're like
I
in
need to
this.
rebind. I need to rebind crouching because that's gonna end up destroying my pinky.
Okay, mine it feels it just is very easy to do. I don't know what your keyboard setup it looks like though. I can just kind of lay my pinky down on top of both. But in any case, right? This is just very helpful for like in that last fight. You know, like you were just in the middle of this big brawl and you just were like, "What the heck is happening?" Right? Very easy thing to do is just to super jump off of somebody, and then that just gives you. Height gets you away from the fight. It can give you a high ground. It can make it so you have more visibility over what's going on around you. Though I will note, don't try to do this for just no reason, because that can just get you shot out of the air very easily from like hit scan characters. So
Yeah.
do it less often if they have a bunch of hit scans or a sniper. But besides that, like if they just have nothing to contest you in the air, do it very frequently, and then do it when you need to. Like getting high grounds or getting away from people, right? Like you do this against a dive, right? Like a dive comes and dives on top of you, and then you're just like bye, right? And then you're out.
Yeah.
Now moving on, have you adjusted any of your mercy settings yet?
We did that last week
Last
with
time, okay.
with the
Beam.
beam sensitivity.
Okay. And then have you also checked out, I don't know if we went over it last week at all, the mercy setting, and also I wasn't paying attention to see if you had it or not, because it's also new to me, so I haven't been thinking about it a ton when I do coaching, is Mercy's new setting for, I don't even know what it's called. It's the mix between, I'm just going to butcher if I try to say it, so I'm going to go and look for it, the prefer facing target for guardian angel target priority.
Is still prefer beam target for me. Yeah.
Okay, I would probably recommend changing it to prefer facing target, as you get the best of both worlds with it. Are you familiar with what that one does?
Well, I reckon instead of if I am tethered to someone, if I press shift, I will always fly towards them. But now it'll just fly whoever I'm looking at always, regardless of who I'm tethered to.
Nope. So you're thinking, so that is the other, so there's three settings. This one's new. They added this new third setting in. So you were thinking of the first two settings. So there's prefer beam target, which is I'm going to go on, if you're looking at my screen, prefer beam target is I'm going to tether to this person, and I'm always going to fly to that person no matter what, right? If I'm tethered to them. And then if I'm not, then I can fly to other people. This gives you value of things like if I'm falling off an edge, I can still fly to this person, right? I can fly to this person like around the corner, things like that, right? It's handy, and I don't have to look at the person to fly to them if I want to, right? Like I can track afar in the sky very easily just by flying to them. And then there's also fly to facing target, where you you fly to whoever you're looking at. So even if I'm have my beam on this person, then I look at this person and I fly to this person, right?
Yeah.
You just fly to whoever you're looking at. Then there's the third option that they just recently added in, which is a mix between the two of them, where I can be having my beam on this target and fly to this person if I want to fly to this person, but if I am not looking at anybody, it will then default back to the person that I have my beam on.
Yeah.
Right? So I would probably recommend keeping enabling that one, because it gets the best of both worlds. You get all the advantages of having the preferred beam target, and you also have all the advantages of the fly to the facing target, such as more precision. You can kind of you don't have to worry about taking your beam off of the person, right? So if I'm trying to fly over here, I don't have to disengage and then re-engage it, right? So it just makes it makes life much easier, and it's just overall probably the much preferred option between the two of them, or the three of them.
Yeah.
All right. So now let's talk about reses. So reses, did we go in depth on reses last time at all? I don't think we did.
We went more into the general idea of like being aware when you have it and use it. Obviously, try to judge a situation whether there's an availability to do so, whether it's going to get you killed, etc. Which I'm still trying to employ more and more.
Okay, did we go in depth on that last part of judging the situation and like going over all the different things that you judge the situation with?
So no.
No? Okay, well then let's go over that. That's what we're gonna go into. So, you definitely got the first part. So this whole getting good reses thing mainly stems from paying attention and what I call eyeballing the reses. So firstly, you have to know that somebody's died, and then sometimes, in fact, we actually didn't know that people died. So that's the first step. You have to know that somebody's dead to actually res them, right? You can tell that they're dead by seeing them on your screen. There are multiple times where we would just see them on our screen and not even blink and bat an eye at it. You can see it happening in kill feed. You can see it happening in tab. You can hear them dying, right? They can say it in voice chat, etc. There's so many different ways to tell. Now, once we do see this person is dead, then you eyeball the body. You have to think to yourself, can I go for the res, or can I in the near future go for the res? Because you always have to keep in mind that you have 10 seconds of the respawn time to res. You don't always have to res immediately. Sometimes lower ranked mercies think, okay, I can't go for it now, so I'm just gonna leave the body and not think about it again, right? Whereas you have the next 10 seconds to think about it. So let's go over some of those different things that you're going to be eyeballing the body with. So you want to be thinking through, can I do it? And there's certain things that stop you from being able to do it, right? Things such as if it's smack dab in the middle of the open, right? That's that if you have no cover, right? If you have cover, then that allows you to do it. If there's no cover, maybe that's a deterrent. How close is it to the enemy team, right? If the body's right here and right next to them, then that might be a deterrent. If we're like all the way over here and they're all the way over there, then that's not as much of a deterrent. Are they looking at us or paying attention to us? They might be right next to them, but if they're not looking at us and they're like turned around and we res and then we fly away, we might just get that surprise advantage off before they even pay attention, right? Additionally, do we have team protection, right? Sometimes it might be a risky res, but then we have a shield or a bubble or a DM, etc. Or just flat up tanking, right? They step in front of us. So that's another thing to keep in mind, right? Let's see what else is there. When you have Valk, you're going to even if it's a risky res, you're going to be greatly much more able to go for the res because with a Valk you can swoop in incredibly fast. With high mobility, you're able to get to different angles that you wouldn't otherwise be able to get to. You can fly around while you're resing, and on top of like something like this, which you wouldn't otherwise be able to do. And then additionally, you have self-healing that is engaged the entire time while you're in Valk, which means that you're going to have, again, increased survivability. So that's going to increase your ability to get off reses. So overall, the whole concept is, am I able to do it? Am I not able to do it? And you might have conflicting things, right? You might have, it might be across the map from them, but then they have a Widowmaker that you have to keep in mind, right? Or you might be right next to them, but then they're not looking at you, right? So there's all those things to keep in mind. Go ahead.
The nice thing about that is that in that game, I noticed one time when I judged it accurately, and one time where I didn't. Like with the Junkrat, there was an obvious one where it's like I could have pressed earlier, the window is gone, and I died for it. But then, like in that last defense point, I waited for our right had died immediately. I waited to see where all of them were going and looking. They were all looking away from the body, so I swooped in from behind and got the right hand up immediately.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what I'm still working on, like judging the situation moment-to-moment basis. And with the Junkrat, it's just like a little bit of a short circuit what happened there. It was like, I knew I could do it, but for some reason I was more focused to look what the wheel was doing. That already fell down.
Yeah. Do you want to real quick get me that code, and I'll just show you the one time, especially on the, I want to know the Reinhardt one that we could have gotten, just because it's one that I would say a lot of players don't really even think about at lower ranks. Also, I maybe have one more topic to think about, but we'll see. Well, can
There you go, that's the link.
Right, thank you. Can you remind me of what your current SR is?
current SR is unranked though. I haven't done the
Unranked.
WoW.
Oh, sorry. Well, last season. So your current SR outside of the placements.
Ended at 2167.
Okay.
Welcome to Hollywood. Ready for battle.
All right.
I am injured.
Tactical visor
Let's get you
activated.
back out there. Rocket barrage.
Thinking where it was here. We're trying to find it.
I think it was outside
Thing
stuff.
is-
Like
so-
it wasn't this time. Yeah.
I think it's right around.
My servants
Yeah.
never
Okay.
die.
So it's right here. So
My
watch
healing
this, right?
stands upon you.
Where Reinhardt goes in really far, he feeds, he dies, right? You can see this. So in this situation, in a lot of cases, the Mercy would see this and just immediately think, okay, Ryan's a lost cause, I'm not gonna go for it. But in this situation, something that we aren't really thinking about is the fact that we have Valk, right? And the fact that we have Valk means that we can that extends our flight range, which means that we can just immediately swoop in. We can wait for these guys because these guys aren't going to come and sit on this body and go hoo ha, and just like watch this Reinhardt in the corner, right? This entire
I've done
fight.
it, but yeah, most people don't.
Well, I mean, it depends on if you think that the Mercy's going to go for it. But from most people's perspective here, they're not going to think that you're going to swoop in if you're nowhere close to it. They're not going to think that you're going to swoop in and get this person who's all the way off in the corner, right?
Yeah.
They might think about it, and that's another thing on the other end of things where I tell most players, yeah, you don't think about the Mercy reses and you let them get it off for free, right? But in a lot of cases, people don't think about the Mercy reses. So here, what's going to happen, and we can watch it here, where I bet you all of them are going to turn around pretty much immediately and just walk this direction and away from it, which means here we can just fly in and then get around the corner and then boom, free res, and then we can just fly back to our team, right? Now in this situation, he is in the middle of their team, so we might have to play it safe. He might not get a ton of value, but it's still helpful to have that extra player back in the fight. And there's no guarantee that we're gonna get another great res later on in this fight. So I would say that it's still worth it. Now we don't go for it, and we can see, do they immediately turn around? Sigma walks over to it and then immediately walks away. So we right now we'd be able to go for it, right?
Yeah.
Now, additionally, come and look at this second one here, where just a couple seconds later, we have another option to go for a res, and we just flat up miss it. This one is right in our face this time, right?
Boy, well, who died in there? Because I didn't even see anything, even on the replay.
Yep, sure, we can rewind it.
My servants never die.
Oh, the soldiers died there. Then I just came from him. He was on the roof.
There's actually 2 people who died.
Well, I saw the Anna, but I
Anna.
was wondering.
Well,
Like,
soldier
the
died all the way
soldier
over
is the one
here.
who I was with, but he went the right way. I see.
Well,
not-
I'm not telling you that you should be resing soldier here. I'm saying that we should be resing Ana here.
Yeah.
Yes, but Soldier did also die on the other side of the map. That's a potential res, but I'd say that's just way far out of the way, right? Where Ana is right here, and then watch in a second here. Yes, it's a little bit dangerous right now, but watch in like 3 seconds from now, right? Fark just kills everything, and then
Yeah, at this point I could easily res.
yeah. So that's just a res opportunity that we just completely missed, right? Where we could have gone for that one as well. So just pointing those out. I don't want to go super in depth on all the ult tracking stuff because typically I find that that's like slightly more advanced, and I typically reserve that for like people over diamond just because I don't want to overload their brain with things to keep in mind. But for the moment, I will just say when you're tracking something like tire, the main thing is just like no, I guess you don't need to do that. The main thing is just thinking about when was the last time he used it and how much has he been doing. If you're trying to think about one ultimate in particular, I'm not going to go in the depths of how to track every single ultimate, but if you're thinking about one ult, if Junkrat's been 2 whole fights without using it, he probably has it, right? If he's done an insane amount, you saw him get a 6k in kill feed, then he probably has it, right? So just keep track of like when was the last time he used it, do I see, like, you can also gauge based off of their behavior, right? If Junkrat the entire game has just been spamming, and then all of a sudden you notice that he's alive,
Yeah.
so that, but you can't see, but you don't know where the heck he's at, and he's not spamming. Well, they might be flanking and going for a tire, right? That's other things to keep in mind. All
Yeah.
right, so you can, let's see here. We have 20 minutes left here, so I don't know if you have time for another game. Would you like to hop into like a quick play game, or would you like to do a replay?
No, that's completely fine.
All right.
Because I find there's a lot of valuable information because I do try to work on things that I notice myself, but half of these things I don't notice myself. Like for example, with like observing res potential is something that I have been working on, but I hadn't had an idea how bad it actually was.
Yep. Now do I have you friended yet? On I don't know if you have you on W2.
I don't think so.
All right, let me friend you real quick.
I'll put it in chat. I still not put it in the recording.
All right, I got you.
Nice.
All right, so then I can just spectate you from here, and then on Mercy. Are you familiar? Just to check off all the different boxes. Are you familiar? Are you actively familiar with how to do the? Besides super jumping, there's like 3 other types of flight. There is normal.
The one I'm most familiar with and I'm the most natural at using is when you fly over target.
Fly past them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I just want you to keep in mind that that's not always going to be the best. Like for example, I saw like one scenario where not the entire thing, but I saw one time where we flew past and then into danger. So keep in mind that that can be bad. So there's the 3 types. There's just the fly past them, fly to them, and then canceling your flight. Right? Are you familiar with how to cancel your flight? Because that's also important to know.
Pressing shift again.
Yeah,
I used to actually set it up where you have to hold shift for the flight, but I disabled that because it became a little bit annoying.
Okay.
Just a scratch, you'll be fine. I'm under attack. Healing enough. I have your back. Die wieder. Dein Schutzengel ist da. Reviving.
Audio awareness, right? Hog just walked by us and hooked us, and we didn't bat an eye at it. And is our inner backline, right? That's a very easy sleep and nade if we're just paying attention to it. Okay, and then soldiers on our high ground visoring, and we don't hear it, and we're not running for cover.
I didn't know where the soldier was. I didn't think I walked that far forward.
So in that
because
situation,
the same way that I was trying to dodge him by being underneath him is what I was doing there as well. But I walked much further forward than I expected.
So this should probably be a good idea to run into the room that was behind us, and then in terms of knowing where he is, right? Firstly, there's just making sure we're listening and keeping our ears open, and then besides that, you can also see his bullets, right? And where he's shooting from, just based off of where's the bullet trail coming from. And there's also only so many places he could be, right? He's not going to be. You don't see him in front of you. You don't see him on the top left.
Why?
Help me. You have enemies engaging. Heal up.
Okay. Watch overstaying your welcome, right? When you see that the fight's really lost and we're not really backing up at all. So if you see it's just you and Reinhardt and that's it, you probably want to be backing up, because otherwise that happens and we end up staggering. Okay. Additionally, note that we haven't really been using especially our nade very aggressively. I think we've only gone for an anti like once or twice. So we want to make sure that we're using that aggressively.
Watching your back.
Okay. When you hear that visoring soldier, he probably becomes a greater priority for the sleep than the hog. Not the hog is usually a bad target, but it's just he's a higher priority.
Get back in.
Someone who's nanoing.
Right.
Or sorry, not nanoing.
Yeah.
That's not what I meant to say. Ulting.
No, I understand. Yeah. Where the nano soldier is obviously a higher priority than a hog.
My team still needs me.
I've been fighting in this room a lot. It's not normally where fights happen that much.
Go. I'll keep you healed.
Okay. Against ulting targets and when you're trying to shut people down from using abilities and ultimates and the like, sleep it becomes the higher priority, right? Sleep is
Yeah.
when there's a person in the middle of your team, sleep is more likely to kill them than your nade
You
is.
healed.
Yes.
When there's a big old group of people or they're not in the middle of your team, then nade becomes the more offensive ability. But in that situation, sleep is the more offensive ability.
Healing in hand. Hostile down.
I mean, we were attacking it, so I didn't want to sleep it.
Name.
Sleeping hog behind you guys on the left in the room.
Walk it off.
Very good sleep, good nade follow up as well.
I've seen it. You're going to live.
Enemy is here.
Nano boost is ready. Get in there, and I'll hit you. Fire at will. You're powered up. Get in there. Healing in hand. This will restore you. I'm under attack. I'm on fire.
Okay.
Not my job.
Nanoing Reiner in that situation is definitely not a bad situation in general to be nano. Oh, I'll talk in a second.
And the soldier's still alive. And the Ash is sandwiching me from the...
Dein Schutzengel ist da.
The pain. Enemies engaged.
Look to stand on top of your team as much as possible. They can kind of tank and body block for you. So besides that, in the last fight, right, nanoing Reiner usually isn't a bad thing, but you have to keep in mind that we also had a dragon to combo with that grab, and if you know that dragon's going to combo with grab, nano is kind of overkill, right? So in that situation, you can probably just hold on to it, so make sure you're just pressing tab and watching for what ultimates do we have, because that's something that you always have access to. And then I'm not sure if I've said this, but it's usually a good idea to get into the habit of pressing tab once in between every single fight. Nice sleep.
Sleeping hog on the right.
It's just a scratch. You'll be fine. ده هيكون مؤلم.
Der Kampf ist noch nicht vorbei.
Enemies de-engaging.
I require assistance.
Walk it off. Name. اتعلم من الألم. أنا هاخد my ultimate is ready. You're powered up. Get in there.
Repairing the damage. This will restore you.
Heal up.
I am moving the field. Allow me to repair the damage.
Healing in hand.
Dein Schutzengel
I have sleep.
I have your back. I'm on fire.
Alright, so in general, couple things to note there in Ana. So firstly, I think that your sleeps were doing very well. Couple times though, just noting that we were kind of flicking unnecessarily. But besides that, sleeps were landing. I did think that we did need to put a lot more effort into our nade usage, though, making sure that our nades were getting value and we're using them in the right place at the right time. Making sure that sometimes we would throw healing nades when people weren't kind of in danger at all, or low.
It's still very much a reflex, and especially
Mhm.
on characters like offensive dooms, I tend to literally just throw the nade to start it off with because I find him. I don't know why, because he's quite bulky as a character, but I find him a lot harder to hit than anything else.
Just this, I would imagine. Then it's the speed of his movement. But
Mm.
yeah, in general, it's you don't want to necessarily waste the ability, like if he's not lower in danger to make up for maybe a lack of like hitting your shots. I mean, you can, but that's only if you feel like you're missing your shots is causing him to be in danger. But not necessarily if he isn't it low, isn't in danger. Then you don't
No,
need
I
to.
meant like in an offensive way. It's like I will yeet grenades on enemy Doomfist whenever I can, pretty much, because I don't seem to be able to reliably hit shots on him, regardless of what I do. Like if there's no healing
Okay.
to be done and he's running away, I'm not. I'm shooting, but I'm also throwing my nade immediately.
Okay.
No second thought.
Yeah, well, I mean, like that's not necessarily what I was talking about. But I mean, like you can, it just that depends. Like, cause going for one man anti-nades isn't necessarily bad. It depends upon the situation of like, do you have
Yeah.
opportunities to hit more than one? In which case, it might be worth it to try to hit more than one, right? But going for one man is definitely not bad in situations where one man is all you can hit.
Mm.
Um, Now beyond that, there of course, like there are a lot of things we'll focus it in more because, of course, you're not going to be working on all things all at once. But I am
No.
noticing that your aim on Ana needed, I would say, kind of two parts to it. Firstly, I would say needed work in the sense that I would say that you want to work on your mechanics and getting better at shooting and hitting your targets because I noticed that, and then there's
Never stop
another
fighting
part
for
to
what
this,
you
but I
believe
noticed
in.
that when you're like shooting, only about like 4 out of your 12 shots per clip are getting kind of getting maximum value in doing things. Maybe sorry, that's an under. Let's say like if, 5 out of 12, something like that, where you're um actually getting value out of your shots, and the rest are either missing or they're overhealing shots, or they're just kind of shots that aren't really even close to going anywhere near your target. So this is kind of moving on to the second topic. That's so there's the first thing, which is mechanics and hitting your shots, and it's not necessarily a bad thing, where you're trying to hit somebody and you just go like that, right? That's understandable. That's just a missed shot that happens. You can practice and get better at not having this happen by keeping your crosshair on the target. That's something that you can work with, but I'm also noticing where we'll do things where we'll go like this, right? Where we'll shoot nowhere near anybody, and then that just ends up wasting the shot and kind of not really accomplishing anything, and then that really adds into other things. So so I'm kind of combining all these things together. So there's that where like sometimes we'll just kind of be like all over the place with our shots, and we're not really aiming anywhere near people. We're just kind of holding down our button even when we're not shooting anywhere close to people. Then there's also times, like I said, where we are overhealing, where people are already full HP and we're still trying to heal them, and it's not really doing anything. Where we could be doing something else. Then there was us just flat up missing our shots mechanically. So we'd end up just kind of holding it down and then not really, and then only about, like I said, like 5 out of 12 shots actually landed on their targets and when they were needed. And then that meant that just we had to reload more often than we needed to, and we maybe missed out on healing value and DPS value. So overall, make sure you're actively paying attention to that overhealing and to making sure we're actually putting our crosshair near people. And then on practicing your aim, there's a couple things that we can do. So for have we discussed like I guess let me ask this. Like I don't know if we've gone over this topic at all before, but before you get into your games, do you warm up at all?
Yes, we have gone over this in the
Yes.
very
All right.
first session when we were covering a Brig Zen game.
Okay. So we have gone over this then. So how have you been doing with warming up and whatnot?
So in general, I haven't played a lot of comp. I've played mostly flex, and most of the time we play a number of quick plays before we actually start comping, but not like dedicated aim practice or try hard free for all that kind of stuff. I've not been doing that very much.
Okay, so then that would be my recommendation if you're looking to get better at your mechanic switch. This doesn't necessarily have to be your, like, we'll go over your priorities here in a second, but it doesn't have to be your highest priority. But if you are trying to work on your mechanics, might recommend just hopping in the try free for all because that's just a really good place to try it. The other thing is just making sure you're actively focusing on your aim while you're playing. Like we've gone over that before, right? I would
Yeah,
imagine and hope that we've
but
just
that's
focusing
it.
on it.
I was more focusing on mainly sleep dart usage as well as in general positioning wise. Where am I? Where's the enemies? Where's the danger coming from? Because
Yeah.
when that soldier was behind me, like just before last point entry, soldier was behind me ulting. I dodged out to the left so he couldn't shoot me more. Then I noticed that the Ash playing to get me from the enemy's side, obviously. And I tried to run to the little high ground nook on the right side, and obviously still got killed. But that is
Yeah.
why I was focusing on, like, where's the danger? Where can I go?
Yeah, and
And
that's
that's
it.
why I stick with your team, kind of a thing.
Yeah, and that situation exactly. That's where you can kind of like it. Well, you can't. I can't do it here because it's an enemy. But you can kind of like run inside of your tanks and like just like let them block for you and rotate around them and things like that. And follow your team so they can protect you. Now let's hop into the end credit. We're gonna rush through it. You got your notes, so it shouldn't have to be super in depth. But ability usage, sleep was pretty good. Nade needed some work to make sure that we were doing like good, get actual value out of it, but overall it wasn't terrible. Probably say both of them goes like a medium priority for you to work on. Ultimate usage actually was like pretty good. There was a couple times where we could have done, I think overall it was pretty good. Maybe a couple times that we could have done better. It's overall probably like a low to medium priority. And then over to your mechanics. Your mechanics was probably, I'm trying to think. Mechanics was probably around like a medium priority between all those things that we just talked about. And then positioning wise, I think that we did decently. We usually had a good usage of cover. I don't think we focused a ton on positioning this session. Though I still do think that it needs work. Do you say question?
Yeah. No, that
No,
was
okay.
last session where I was just standing in the middle of the street hard scoping. It was fun.
Yeah. So positioning still needs a little bit of work, not but we'll put it around like a medium, something like that. And then finally we have awareness, which I would say is probably the biggest one here. Awareness, making sure that you're focusing on your surroundings, especially what is my team up to, what is the enemy team up to. Maybe those are like kind of the two biggest ones where like with our team paying attention to their danger levels and their health bars and not overhealing, not throwing unnecessary nades, and then paying attention so we can stick with them and heal who is needed. And then over on the enemy side of things, making sure we're just paying attention to where the heck is the enemy team at, right? Where are they at? What are they doing? Paying attention to our audio awareness so we know where people are. Paying attention to ultimates that they have and like what are they using. Just in general, there are a couple times where just people like be walking around right next to us, ulting right next to us, we just didn't really notice it. Right? Like there's a time where like Hog was like right here, and then he hooked at us and shot at us, and we're just kind of doing our business and healing stuff, and then we just like
I did not know that he did that until he told me, and then I looked around and I saw him come from the little cubby hole on the side of the street, and I was like, "Oh, there he was."
right.
I had not noticed at all.
Yep. So that's like you can see how that becomes a really big problem because then he lands that hook and you're dead, right? Or and then that soldier, there was that time that we didn't notice him, and then we did die to that scenario, right? Additionally, making sure pressing tab, press it in between every single fight. Keep watching kill feed. That I don't think that was a very big thing. And then combining. Now I'm swapping over to Mercy, but like Mercy things that eyeballing bodies and paying attention to reses and when people are actually dying, paying attention to the danger levels of people and making sure we're sticking with the right people at the right time. But overall, there's just so much stuff that went into awareness. This is probably like a honestly, like probably a high, maybe a medium high, but probably around that range for you to work on. It's just it's like a lot of things that need to be worked on in this range. Now, moving over to Mercy. Mercy reses, eyeball those reses, fly, keep in mind like which fly is good in which situation, and also super jump. So overall, that was probably like a, on Mercy, that's probably like a medium, higher end of medium, something like that. Ultimates, Valk usage probably a little bit higher than Higher than nano, just needs a little bit of work. Probably like a medium, lower end of medium, something like that. Beam targets, like beam usage and who we're beaming, probably goes to like a lower end of medium. Just making sure we're like on those right targets at the right times and whatnot, sticking with our target priorities. Positioning, not any real problem at all. Positioning probably went to like a low to medium, though keep in mind like just sticking with your team, sticking with the right targets at the right time. And then finally awareness. Awareness is probably the same as like the Ana, right? Just like needs a lot of work on it still. So overall, awareness is looking like the biggest thing. So that is a very, between Ana and Mercy, it's a very massive category of things. So break it down. I would probably recommend don't try to do everything in that all at once.
Yeah, no, I haven't been. Like,
Yeah.
same with the Anna, where I haven't been doing everything that we've been discussing with Anna, but like I've been
Yeah.
trying to take bits and bobs here and there and you know, focusing on individual things.
Yeah, which usually my recommendation is focus on the one category or 1 to 3 things within the category. This category is so big and has like 8 different things in it, so I probably recommend sticking within a couple of the things within this category, right? It can differ a little bit between Ana and Mercy since they both had a couple different things, and then probably the biggest thing I would recommend starting with is just pay attention to what is like. Just keep your eyes open and your ears open and listen to where is my team and where's the enemy team at and what is everyone doing, right? And then that should drastically help in a couple different areas, right? Any questions about anything else?
No, it's a pleasure, and like I always want to state just like it's not about it's not bad criticism because it's all these things they say like people just don't think about them, and that's more often than not the problem.
Yep, definitely 100%. So yeah, let me stop the recording. I'll get you your